Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. It started with the kind of quiet that only happens before a storm, not of weather but of attention. A single post appeared out of nowhere in the huge, busy internet world, where millions of memories are shared and forgotten in a matter of hours. It was calm, simple, and didn't have any hashtags or hoopla. But it would be the spark that set off a fire on social media, in entertainment news, and in the hearts of people who had been following two different paths for years, never quite believing they would meet. The post came from the verified Instagram account that Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco, two of TLC's 90 Day Hunt for Love's most famous faces, shared for one night. The thumbnail looked harmless to the average person. Two persons in the picture with a warm blur of light behind them. But for fans who had followed their individual tales and watched them deal with the twists and turns of televised romance, family, and personal growth, it was a clear sign. Things had changed. Something had been silently growing, and tonight it came out into the open. Their paths to this point had not been the same at all. There had always been a calmness about Tim Malcolm's story. People had seen him as a man with careful habits, a calm demeanor, and a mysterious smile that often seemed to hold secrets. He had both vulnerability and restraint on the show. There were times when the world got to see glimpses of what was really going on, but never the complete picture. He was the kind of person who thought about the risks he took, who wore his charm like a tailored suit, and who only let a few people see behind the curtain. Tiffany Franco's story had a different type of strength. She was a mother first, and when she entered the world of reality TV, she carried the weight of her history and the strong desire to protect her son, Daniel. Her voyage wasn't about getting away from it all or being glamorous. It was about making something real, something that could hold both her dreams and her duties. She was honest about how weak she felt, yet there was a strong core underneath it all. She was always ready to leave anything that put her child's safety at risk. They were in different stories, yet they crossed paths in ways that appeared brief at first. There were events, reciprocal appearances, and exchanges on social media. Fans who were always seeking for trends logged and analyzed each encounter. But for a long time, the idea of a deeper connection was just that, an idea that never seemed to become actual. Up until New York. The video came out in the early hours of the morning, when the city outside was alive with its own restless beat. For some who clicked, the scene played out in a way that felt too real for the internet's never-ending cycle of consumption. A five-star apartment, high above the noise of Manhattan, set the scene. There were floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the skyline. Each glass skyscraper made its own constellation in the night sky. The streets below sparkled with the light of neon signs on the wet pavement. The city's heartbeat could be heard in the air. Cabs gliding through intersections, laughing from rooftop bars late at night, and the occasional cry of a siren in the distance. But in that room, the sound was quieter, as if the walls had decided to hush the world outside. The camera's gaze was steady and calm. Tim sat in a deep, dark red velvet armchair that looked like red wine under candlelight. He seemed calm and pleased, and his body language showed it. He didn't have the careful distance that he usually had in public. Tiffany sat next to him, and the light from a low lamp painted the room in golden shadow, making her profile stand out. Her smile wasn't the polished curve of someone who knew the camera was on. It was the spontaneous lift of someone who was there. They weren't putting on a show. There was no screenplay, no reality show drama, and no over-the-top gestures to get more viewers. Instead, there was the subtle dance of two individuals living securely in each other's space. The way Tim's eyes stayed on her for a little too long. The way Tiffany moved a little closer to him without thinking. The unsaid ease between them was the kind of thing that can't be forced. It had to grow slowly, in quiet moments away from the eyes of an audience. Then, as if the cosmos had decided that the scenario needed its most solid anchor, Daniel stepped into the picture. Daniel wasn't only Tiffany's son. He was the center of her existence. The tone of the video shifted right away when he showed up. He went into the room without any fear, like a youngster who knows they are welcome there. He laughed at something Tim said off camera. The sound was clear and bright. He leaned on Tiffany without thinking and looked at Tim with a look of trust that said a lot. Tim's answer was quiet but clear. His body language changed and his face softened. At that moment, the footage showed something much deeper than a love connection. It caught the first signs of something that could become a family. Fans that saw the video got this right away. The comment area filled up with rows of hearts, strings of congratulations, and long remarks from people who had been hoping for their happiness individually and were now happy to see them together. Some people talked about how happy they seemed, while others talked about how easy Daniel was to talk to. Some admitted that they had watched the film over and over again, looking for the little unguarded gestures that made it seem so real. People on the internet were speculating and celebrating, but New York City went on as usual. The rain had ceased, and the streets were shiny and slick under the streetlights. A saxophone was playing from the corner of a bar that was almost empty. Steam rose from a cover over a manhole. The metropolis was always moving, and it didn't appear to notice that something was happening above it that may disrupt the internet. The mood in the suite was calm. Tim and Tiffany didn't seem to be aware of the tsunami they had just started. They were completely in the moment, as if the outer world, with all its noise and demands, had been put on hold. This was what impressed folks the most. The fact that it was real and not made up. In a culture full of staged affection and carefully chosen photographs, this felt quite real. There was no big announcement or shiny caption. There were only 3 individuals in the room, laughing and leaning into each other's warmth while the camera caught it. The ripples had turned into waves by daybreak. Entertainment sites had headlines like, "Tim and Tiffany's intimate New York video sparks romance buzz," while fan accounts put the footage into loops with love music. TikTok montages put their looks together with popular love tunes. There were more hashtags. But no matter how far the moment spread, the core of it was the same. 2 lives that were once distinct were now coming together in both simple and deep ways. It was more than a romantic reveal for people who had watched their journeys on 90 Day Hunt for Love. It was a story about timing and how the most crucial relationships don't always come when you think they will. Tim's background of being guardedly open and Tiffany's route of being cautiously strong had both led to this improbable meeting. And here they were, in a hotel room high above the city, letting the world see, even if it was just for one night. People will remember the film not only for what it showed, but also for what it meant. That love is less about showing off and more about being there. That family can be something you build carefully, on purpose, and with care. That often the best stories aren't told with fireworks, but with the sound of calm laughing over the sound of a city sleeping. Long after the camera had stopped filming, the 3 of them may have sat together by the window, watching the lights ripple across the river. Maybe they didn't talk about anything specific. Maybe they didn't need to say anything at all. The city was big and unknown, yet in that small, golden-lit room, everything felt whole and complete. And when dawn came and the video had gone around the world, they would wake up to find that a calm night in New York had turned into something bigger. Not only a memory, but a story that everyone who still believes that love, when it is real, doesn't need to be announced. It just is. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.